Okay, so I'm going over the Idaho 4 American Tragedy book, and chapter 18 is a big one. But let's start off with chapter 16. So if you've not seen my previous videos, I went through the prologue, chapters 1 through 5, 6 through 10, and the last one was 11 through 15, and now we're picking up at chapter 16. So chapter 16 talks about that TikTok that we've seen where the girls all imitate each other. If you have not seen it, you can probably find it online. But that's where this starts. And it was on October 27, 2022. Then chapter 17 is November 5th, 2022, and talks about the parents' weekend and how the triplets just celebrated their 20th birthdays and that it's family weekend at U of I. And then Stacy and Jim Chapin talk about how they did a good job, that their job is done, but I don't see how a parent's job is ever done. And that Jeff was supposed to meet Stacy and Jim Chapin. Now Jeff is Xana's dad. There was a statement in that chapter that said Stacy, who's Ethan's mom, can see how happy Ethan is with Xana, and I put a note saying, was she upset about this? Because it seemed like she wasn't very much approving of Xana. Now chapter 18 is Friday, November 11th, and that's where it starts, but it's the timeline that they're giving and what exactly happened. The days leading up to the murder, and then the night of into the early morning of the murders. So they say that the residents of 1122 start pre-gaming around noon, and they have no intention of going to the official formal. That would be a bus ride and staying sober beforehand. The older girls who officially left Pi Phi the year before, which would be Maddie, Xana, and Emily, wouldn't even be allowed in, which I found very interesting. And the youngest two, Dylan and Bethany, prematurely left the house to live off campus and are loyal to Maddie, Xana, and Emily, so they won't receive a warm welcome. What is up with these sororities? Now it talks about a white shower curtain being used as a backdrop, and that the girls were all in little black dresses. We've seen those pictures, right? And then Xana was in a red dress, and they all took pictures. They said that Emily, Josie, Chapin's brothers, and Peter Linden, who's Josie's boyfriend, Maisie pops in, but not Hunter Johnson. He was working at the high school. So they say 6 p.m. they start pre-gaming. They say tomorrow is the game day. And out on the back deck, Maddie films a video of the Chapin brothers, Emily and Xana, shotgunning their drinks. Now, we've seen that video as well. Now, they say that the Vandals hardly ever win, and game days in Moscow are local celebrations. I put a note that said, yet it was eerily quiet, and they had no parties at the 1122 home that weekend. They made interesting statements saying Chief Fry is always there, and so is the mayor Art Bettage, which they are always there. It's kind of crazy. Now we're on the day of the game, which is November 12th, Saturday at 8 a.m. Emily wakes up early and gets to the dome. She's working at the game that day. And it says that Xana is rallying the troops on campus. At 11:30 a.m., she summons people urgently to King Road, and she's texting her friend Josie like multiple times to come over. She ends up putting her hair in 2 braids, and that's when they end up taking pictures that later that day, that infamous last picture with all of them. It says by noon on that day that everyone's gathered at the King Road house: Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, Ethan, Dylan, Bethany, Hunter Chapin, Josie, Linden, Peter, and Hunter Johnson. It says at 1 p.m. they move the party over to the Whites. The Whites is Emily and Josie's apartment, and that's where they take that picture together, all the roommates and Ethan. They say at 2 p.m. that's when they post that infamous last photo together, and that Hunter Johnson was taking the pictures. At first, it was an all-girl photograph, which Kaylee removed. This is what they said. Kaylee removes her Idaho sweatshirt for a sexier bare midriff look. Coquettishly, she kicks her left foot behind her. The members of the group look at her. And I was like, why are they looking at her? Why are they judging? And then, why are they saying sexy or bare midriff? Who says that? So then they take a picture with Ethan. We've all seen that picture. And they call him their honorary roommate, since he always lives there anyway. Kaylee forwards this photo to her mom, Christy, and Karen Laramie, which is Maddie's mom. There should be a timestamp of that. At 3 p.m. that day, the group returns to the AFI apartment where Hunter Johnson, Ethan, and Xana are watching a college game. And Hunter Johnson tells them that he'll be leaving at the end of the semester. He got an internship in Boise. They seem bummed, but they're okay with it. They said at 4 p.m., Maddie and Dylan take Hunter Johnson's phone because he puts it down, and they take a bunch of selfies of themselves on his phone as a joke. At 4:30, Hunter asks Ethan and Xander, do you want to come to the game? He's going to meet Emily and bring her home when the game is over. Ethan says that he can't. He's got the sister's formal in a couple hours. And Hunter says that's the last time he saw Ethan alive. At 7 p.m., that was the Theda's formal at a local brewery. Maisie went with Ethan and Hunter went with Maisie's roommate. At 9 p.m., the formal is over and Maisie's brothers try to persuade her to keep partying with them, but Maisie's tired and she goes back to the sorority house. They drop her off. They grab a bunch of sandwiches from the sorority house's fridge, and the dad said to make sure that you get her home no matter what every time. 9:30, the Chapin brothers go to the Sigma Chi fraternity house, but Xana's already there. At 10 p.m., they talk about how the fraternity party's in full swing and that he wants the friends to enjoy it with him, but I guess Hunter said that Emily was asleep and he wasn't going to leave her. And then Josie and her boyfriend also stay in. It's kind of random and convenient that they're all staying in on the night that this occurs. At 11 p.m., Ethan thinks about who else of his group is missing from the Sigma Chi party. So he texts his sister, and he's still at the Sigma Chi party at this time. It's 11 p.m., and he said, I love you to her, and that's when she said in the Amazon Prime that she thought it was weird, but he also said, you're so lame, when he texts her back, like, that she's not coming. Now we're into November 13th, because it's 12 a.m. now. They mention how Kaylee and Maddie are at the Corner Club, and what it's like, and that Mark Tribble piece, the club's owner, keeps a careful eye on the customers, because a lot of them are underage and try to get in, and that Adam Lauda is Jack's roommate, but he's a fraternity brother, and he works at the Corner Club. At 1:20, they say that they're tired and hungry, so that's when you see them walking, and they say, I told Adam everything. They did clarify now that when she means by I told Adam everything, Maddie says of Kaylee's quandary with Jack. So Kaylee throws her hands up, concerned that Maddie overshared with Adam, the guy behind the bar. And that's when they go to the grub truck. At 1:30, they arrive at the grub truck, and then this is what they say about Jack Showalter, right? They know the guy in the hoodie who's standing behind him, Jack Showalter. He's an occasional visitor at King Road. He's a good guy, they think. Wouldn't they know if they spend time with him all the time? Then they proceed to say the girls flirt with a little with him. I didn't even see them talk to him, so how would they flirt with him? Then they proceed to say Kaylee asks if he's interested in going to another party somewhere, but he's tired. And then they say it's been a long day, and they need to ride home. Kaylee texts the designated sober driver. But it's like, he was standing there the whole time with them. Like, it's not like he just was like, I'm tired, I'm going home. 1:50, Hunter Johnson texts Ethan, asks if he's still at the Sigma Chi party. Emily is still asleep. 1:56 a.m., Kaylee and Maddie head back to the King Road. They chat in the living room. Dylan is in her room, wasted. Bethany is in her room, asleep. 2 a.m., Ethan responds to Hunter Johnson that he and Xana are still at Sigma Chi. So that's where they were the whole time. Why the law enforcement never said that to us, beyond me. And then it says approximately 2:15 a.m., Xana and Ethan return home. Wouldn't they have timestamps on their phone to know exactly when they arrived there? 2:15, Kaylee and Maddie chat on the couch a little longer, and then they go upstairs and collapse on Maddie's bed. Murphy, her dog, Kaylee's dog, is in Kaylee's room, and that Kaylee tells her friend she's unsure what to do about her ex, Jack Decor, that they start texting him. He only lives 3 doors down, and Kaylee misses him. She wants him to come over, but he doesn't respond once. 2:26, Kaylee phones Jack. He's still asleep and doesn't hear the call. How do they know that he was asleep for this? And then they call a bunch of times. At 2:44, Kaylee calls Jack a 6th time. 2:52, she tries him one last time. 3 a.m., Emily wakes up at the Whites, and Josie and Lyndon. Josie realizes she left her phone in a car. She goes to get it. It's foggy out and thinks it's dark and quiet. When she comes back, Hunter Johnson gets up and locks the door to the apartment. He doesn't know why. He's never done that before. It's just weird behavior. He and Emily go to sleep. No one thinks to text Ethan or Xana. They assume everyone is asleep. Xana is awake and scrolling on TikTok. She orders DoorDash. Do they know it was her? That was my note on that one. 4 a.m., Xana's food arrives. 4:17, Dylan is in her bed, drifting in and out of a post-game day sleep. The walls of her bedroom are so paper thin that earlier Dylan could hear almost everything Maddie and Kaylee and Ethan and Xana were saying as they chatted on the couch in the living room. Next thing she hears is a familiar stomping. As they go upstairs, she can dimly hear her music from one of their bedrooms. Okay, I'm going to have to do in part 2 of chapter 18. It's not that much more, so make sure you come back and like and follow, and I will post soon.